Thank you so much. And it's another privilege to join in for the cybersecurity workshop. Apologies for the network yesterday, and I'm hoping that all the questions sent will be answered at the end of this section with a section that will be dedicated to question and answer. So today is the second section of the cybersecurity workshop. And yesterday I covered topic on security vulnerability, attack vectors, and I stated how important it is to understand this topic because these are questions that are asked in most certifications, especially Computer Security Plus and even the ISC Square certification, right? These are questions that comes up every time in the exam. And also, your employees are going to expect that you have a good knowledge of this concept, right? It proves that you are knowledgeable, and if they employ you, you would be able to ensure um, the security of the organization, right? So let's jump into today's the second section and the topic for today. So, for the second section, we'll be looking at the topic understanding security control. This is another very important concept, very important topic that I believe as cybersecurity end users, you should have a good knowledge of, right? Both in terms of taking the exam and having the knowledge if you get employed. These are very important topics you need to understand, right? You need to even understand security measures, security controls. There are thousands of security controls that organization puts in place to ensure integrity, confidentiality, and availability within their organization, right? And jumping into it, there's a brief definition of security control. And security control, like I said earlier, are measures implemented to protect systems, network, and data from threats and vulnerability, right? And like I said earlier as well, that there are thousands of security measures that organization try to implement to ensure that their security are up to date, right? And these control are designed to maybe respond, detect, prevent, compensate. There are different reason why these controls are designed, right? And there's a reason why the organizations are implementing them. And one of the major reason is to ensure confidentiality, integrity, and availability of their information. And as we know, confidentiality, integrity, availability is one of the core pillar of cybersecurity, right? It's a very important principle and pillar in cybersecurity, and it is what guides organization on what they should have in place, right? So, security measures are there to ensure that okay, the organization have these things in place, right? On my next slides, I have the categories and types of security control. So, security control are actually categorized, and as well there are types, right? They are categorized into three major controls, which is the managerial, operational, and technical control, right? And these are like the major categories of this control, like I said earlier. And what is just sorry, to simplify it, is just a broad grouping for the security control, right? And it defines the overall approach of security control as a whole, right? And they are being categorized in terms of category based on how they should be implemented, right? On the other hand, security control are more like the sub guys under the security control category, right? These are now maybe like a step by step that focuses on what are the security controls that the organization even needs to put in place in order to achieve their security objective, right? So don't forget that categories are the broader categorizing of this security controls. And for the types, these are like step by step. We can call them the granular categorization of security controls, right? And it is in terms of what what the organization needs to ensure that their security are up to date, right? Under types, we have the preventive, we have detective, we have corrective, we have deterrent, we have compensating, we have physical. And the good thing about that I like about the topic security control is that even if you don't have a professional experience, right, you can almost relate to how can almost relate to what the security controls are, right? Based on maybe the explanation or how they are being implemented. You might not be able to fully comprehend, but at least you would have a little knowledge of, okay, maybe this is what this is about, this is what this is about, this is what this is about, right? And sometimes maybe if you ask people who have taken the exam before now, they'll tell you that it's a bit tricky because you are almost confused if a particular security control falls under preventive or it is more of a detective control, right? You have it a bit confusing, but trust me, if you're able to read through maybe any of the study material or you go further to do research on this topic, right, you would be able to fully understand that, okay, for this particular category and for this particular security control, well, I'm sure it falls under a compensating control, right? Oh, this other one, I'm sure is a combination of physical and technical control, right? One of my slides here is going to explain how some of this category and types of security control kind of like combine with each other. So you can have a particular security control that is preventive and is also it also falls under the category of operational. So you'd have to call it or a preventive operational security control, or you'd have something maybe particular security control is managerial but also falls under preventive. So you call it preventive managerial control. So they kind of like combine, and with time you get to understand how this different security control combines with each other, right? So on the next slide, I would be explaining a managerial control, which is one of the security control, which is one of the security control under categories, right? And for managerial control, they are primarily administrative functions, right? And they typically fall under the category of, oh, we have to document security policy, we have to, oh, these are the policy we have, these are the security policy we have for organization, these are things we've been able to document, right? This particular control falls under the administrative function of an organization, right? And they are usually planned to maybe reduce or even manage risks within organization. So at this level, they're trying to, okay, these are the kind of risks that our organization might face, and these are the way we might be able to maybe reduce them if we can't even completely um, do away with them, right? You're trying to like, okay, let's see how we can reduce it. Let's see how we can manage it. This is at the managerial. This is at the managerial level, the managerial control. And under example of managerial control that we can relate to risk assessment, vulnerability assessment. So for risk assessment, you have sorry, excuse me. For the risk assessment, you have it as qualitative or quantitative, right? You have organization trying to excuse me. You have organization trying to categorize the risks within the organization to see whether they fall under what is it called, quantitative or the qualitative category, right? and it will help organizations to now focus on, okay, these are the serious risks within our organization, and these are the way we can actually manage them. These are ways that we can focus on them, right? You can see that managerial level, most of their role is mainly administrative controls and function, right? Another common example of managerial control is vulnerability assessment. So you have them trying to conduct vulnerability assessment to see, okay, what are the current vulnerability we have within our organizations, and what are the ways we can prevent them, what are the extra security controls that we might need to help us reduce the risks that this vulnerability might bring to our organization, right? These are like security controls that are covered under the managerial control, right? And don't forget that two common example of managerial control is the risk assessment and the vulnerability assessment. On the next slide, you have operational control. In terms of operational control, it is more, it is implemented and executed by people, right? And they're trying to ensure that the day-to-day operation of an organization comply with their overall security plan. So the organization already have their overall security plan, and they're looking how to, okay, let's have it day to day that we are able to monitor and track how these security controls are being implemented and will fall in line with our security plan, overall security plan, right? And you have examples such as awareness and training falling under this particular category. So part of the organization overall security plan is to ensure that, okay, we are trying to ensure that we have confidentiality, we have integrity, we have availability of our information, right? And it's important in cybersecurity to remember that humans are the weakest link in our security plan. So you would need to ensure at operational control that, okay, their awareness, their training that are being conducted from time to time, helping user or your employee within your organization to know that, okay, these are in terms of password security, these are measures they should take, or they should follow clean dex policy. They should understand even common cyber threats like phishing and malware. So this way you can help them understand that they don't have to click on malicious link and all that, right? This is under the operational control category. Another example you have under the control category, under the control operational control category, is configuration management, right? In terms of configuration management, you're trying to ensure that your system uses baseline to actually start, right? You want them to be secure and to be in hardened state, right? You have change management under this example. You're trying to ensure that, okay, changes made on system on your network do not result to unintended configuration, right? You want to ensure that the baseline you've put in place are what you want exactly, right? Another example is media protection, right? In terms of USB flash drive that you use, external drive, internal drive, you want to ensure that these things are being used rightly within your organizations. These media are protected, they are secure. You don't have somebody picking a flash drive from outside, bringing it into the organization that you know can cause harm or can bring in malicious files and application into your network, right? Another example under this operational control category is physical and environmental control, right? Um, you're trying to include physical control. So remember that operational control, technical control, managerial control, these are like broad guys, right? And you can have security control type fall under them. So under operational control, you can have security control type like physical fall under this particular broad category, right? And so you're trying to ensure that you have cameras, you have door lock, you're trying to put them in place to ensure that security is 100%, right? You can also have environmental controls such as heating, ventilating system for your, can be for your computer, it can be for your server as a whole. Every maybe every other IoT device you have within your organization, you're trying to ensure that, oh, you have the heat and ventilation system to ensure that these things don't overheat and they function the way you want them to function, right? And a reminder that operational control are actually implemented by people, right? Um, and these are the people who perform day-to-day operation, and they do this to ensure that, okay, at the end of the day, everybody complies with the organization overall security plan, right? So on my next slide, I have on the next slide we have the technical control. So for technical control this time around uses technology. So remember, managerial is administrative, you have operational um, implemented by people, and you have technical control this time around. It is the use of technology, right? It can be hardware, it can be software, it can be firmware, right? And you're trying to put all these in place to ensure that you reduce the vulnerability or the challenge or the attack that your organization might face, right? And you have your administrator, they are the ones to help install and configure this technical control, this technology that your organization might have acquired, and they're trying to automate your protection, right? I think one of the things I discuss mostly in cybersecurity is that I tell people that if you want cybersecurity 100%, you can't leave it to only people, you can't leave it to only process, you also have to implement technology, right? So these three guys work hand in hand. So you can liken them to operational, technical, and managerial, right? You need to ensure that the people aspect is complementing the technology aspect, and the technology aspect is also complementing the process aspect, right? You need all the three of them to function together so that you can achieve your overall security plan, right? You can't leave all the work to people, your security analysts to do for you. You have to also invest into technology, right? You can't leave technology to do all the work, you also have to invest in process, right? You need to implement security policies so that your organization follow them, right? So in terms of technical control this time around, we are using technology to ensure that our organization achieve the overall security plan that they have, right? And remember, the administrators are the ones to help implement and configure these technical controls, right? And a few example of them are encryption, you have antivirus software, you have, excuse me, you have the intrusion detection system, you have the intrusion prevention system, you have firewalls, you have least privilege. The list go on and on and on and on. But these are just few examples of technical control, right? And that covers for all the three security control categories. So on the next slide now, we'll be looking at the types of security controls. So under types, remember I said types are like granular piece of the broader guy, which are the security control category. So this type can fall under the categories, right? These are like step by step. The types are like step by step. They are like the what do we need to put in place in terms of security controls, right? These are like more specific, right? They are not broad like the categories. So other types of security controls, we have preventive, we have detective, we have correlative, and recovery. We also have physical, um, deterrent, and compensating, right? So I'll start with the preventive and preventative. So whether you call it preventive or you call it preventative, you're actually correct, right? And these controls are attempts to ensure that the organization the organization is able to prevent from security incidents, right? um, Remember that you cannot completely do away with cyber incidents, cyber attack, right? But you can try to prevent them, right? And what you can do is to implement preventive control to, like, okay, even if we happen to want to experience security controls, we have measures in place that would help us prevent them from happening. So you can have example under preventive can be maybe the process of hardening your systems and application can be a way of preventing against security incidents, right? Training as well can help prevent because you've been able to equip your employees with the right knowledge they need to know about security vulnerability. And this will help them to prevent incidents as a whole, right? Must have helped them understand that, okay, social engineers, these are the kind of information they're trying to extort from you. So you should know when calls are legitimate and when they are not legitimate. You should be able to figure out malicious email. You must have performed maybe different security drilling sections, training for them, and they're able to understand, right? This can be considered as preventive control. Also, security guards within organization are also another good example of preventive control. So these guys will help prevent from maybe even would help prevent from like physical attack that might want to come into the organization. So maybe the security guy already perceives somebody to be um, somebody with not definitely this person doesn't have a good intention, or you have somebody impersonating a particular company saying that they want to come and fix maybe an IT issue within your organization. But the security guy can go as far as, okay, present me with your ID card. If they're unable to provide their ID card, it automatically means that, okay, these guys are not legitimate. And even from the security gate, they would have been able to do away with those guys completely, right? Somebody's coming into the organization maybe to steal valuable possession in your maybe server room or something. The security guys already know people who work within the organization, and they're able to stop others who are not workers of that organization not to access maybe sensitive or confidential environment within your organization, right? So security guards also serve as preventive control, right? Change management is also another example of preventive control that can be used within organization. Another can be account disablement policy. So remember, I said you can have these guys fall in between each other. So for the account disablement policy, you can have it fall under operational as well as preventive, right? Because you have different organizations have different people who work from time to time for them, and some of them might be on contracts, some of them might maybe resign or something. It is very important that those accounts that they've been given access to while they were working with that organization is disabled, right? You disable the account completely, and maybe you set up a new account for new workers. So that way, your old employees would not have access to that same account or continue to use them even after they left the organization, right? Another example of another example of preventive control is IPS, intrusion prevention system. So this can also be considered as a technical control as well as a preventive control, right? Because it is a technology, it is a technical kind of control, but it falls under preventive because what it does is that it can help you block malicious traffic before it even reaches your network, right? And it has been able to successfully prevent a incident, what is it called? A security incident that might happen within your organization. So next we have the detective control. For the detective control, for remember that for preventive, we're attempting to prevent security control, right? But in terms of detective now, what we're trying to do is we're trying to see if we can detect when a vulnerability within our organization has been exploited. So there can be different vulnerability within our organizations. And the best we can try to do as security analysts is to ensure that, okay, we're able to even detect those vulnerability before the bad guys, before the cyber actors are able to do them before us. Or if they've been able to exploit it, okay, we should be able to, what is it called? Detect them and immediately try to respond to that security incident, right? Detective control are actually very important because they help us to discover an event after it has happened, right? And example, you have log monitoring. So if your organization have been able to set up technical control like log monitoring, you would be able to see all those records of traffic, different what is it called? Different traffic incoming, outgoing from your network, right? And it will help you detect potential incidents, and you can easily report them, maybe report them or escalate them, right? So they can be addressed immediately. Another example under detective control, you can have the SIM, which is the Security Information and Event Management System, right? And they are also similar to the log monitoring, right? They would help you, just that it will help you, what is it called? Collate everything into one particular place where you can easily see them and easily detect the threats, and you can raise alerts in real time when using SIM tool, right? Another preventive control can be security audits, right? It will help you figure out, okay, these are the what is it called? Determine it will help you determine if maybe let's say personnel within your organization or technical control are being implemented, right? So you can have the security audits, external or internal. So some organization might have their security audits within. So that means somebody within the organization is the one to conduct the security audit, or you might have them bring somebody external, somebody from the outside, external personnel come into the organization to conduct this audit. And it is to the end that, okay, let's see all the technical controls we've invested in, or the policies we have in place, are they being implemented correctly? So you have the feedback, you have the report of whether they are being implemented or they're not being implemented. So this would be a very this is a very good example of detective control, right? Um, Another example can be intrusion detection system, which is similar to the which sounds similar to the intrusion prevention system, but this time around is intrusion detection system, because what it does is that it will help you, unlike the IPS that prevents. In terms of IDS, what it does is that it will help you detect malicious traffic after it has entered into your network, right? And it will raise an alarm. It will raise an alert for your IT personnel to know that, okay, there's a potential attack right within your organization, so you're able to prevent them before they are being exploited by completely exploited by the cyber actors, and how you can maybe sometimes even isolate that system that has been exploited from other devices within your network. On the next list, we have the corrective and recovery control, right? For these guys, the attempt is to reverse um, the impact of an incident or problem that has occurred. So, okay, you've been able to detect a problem within your network or on a system, right? what you're trying to do with the corrective and recovery control is how to, okay, reverse the impact. If the impact is supposed to be 100%, or you're trying to maybe bring it to 10 or 20, or even do away with it completely, right? And example you can have under the corrective and recovery control is like your backup. So for example, an incident happened, there was a data breach, and you lost all the data within the organization, right? When you have corrective and recovery control in place, you must have ensured that there are backup and recovery systems somewhere. So it will immediately help you recover those data that have been lost or that have been corrupted, right? That way you're able to recover from a failure, or you're able to recover from a security incident, right? Another example of corrective and recovery control is the incident handling process, right? So incident, I mean, as cybersecurity analysts, we must have heard incident response policy, incident response processes. So what you're trying to do is that if your organization ever fall victim of data breaches, what are the plans you've put in place to help your organization recover? What are the step-by-step plans that you have? Do you have your incident response team ready to even respond to that particular incident? That way it would help you that as a whole serve as a recovery control, serve as a corrective control. So it is inevitable for an it is inevitable for an organization not to fall for data breach, right? What you can always do is to ensure that, okay, even if it happens, we have the right measures in place to help us continue business immediately, to help us recover immediately. The business does not have to completely fail because it suffers from a data breach, right? You have a lot of organizations who have suffered from data breach, but the good news is always that they were able to recover from it, right? Which is a very important concept in cybersecurity. Incident response, business continuity is very, very important. Um, on my next slide, I have other type of security, um, other type of security control. We have physical, deterrent, and compensating. So for physical, what you're trying to do is you're trying to implement security controls that are physical. You can almost touch them, not even almost. You can touch them. You can touch most of them. You can physically touch them, all of them. Let's even say all of them, right? And example you have under these categories can be bollards, can be barricades, can be the fence you've had around the organization, right? Fence might just look like one of the fancy things that your organization have put in place, but you'll be shocked to know that it is actually a type of security control that falls under the physical. So if your organization is without a fence, it means that anybody anywhere can just come in and go out without any control. But because that fence is there, it serves as a barrier to even prevent unnecessary going in and coming out, right? Because anybody coming in would have to go through the gate, and going through the gate, they have the security guys to face. And oh, even when they bypass the security guys, will have to still meet the receptionist, right? You have this physical control also serve as security controls, right? Other example might be lighting, might be fans, might be sensory, right? Might be cameras that you've put to ensure that, okay, um, we know individuals that are trying to access our workplace and people that are not supposed to be there, right? You have security cameras serving to, okay, monitor people who go in and go out. So if the guys at the camera room see anybody not looking familiar, they can quickly raise the alert to the security guy that, oh, there's somebody in this particular floor, in this particular room trying to do something, and we can identify the person being our staff and all that, right? This physical control actually very, very important, and that they are as important as the technical control as well, right? No security control is more important than the other. They complement each other and they work hand in hand, right? Another security control is the deterrent control, and the attempt is to actually discourage a threat, right? It can be maybe for deterrence now, you can have some type of deterrent control. They might feel more like a physical control, or they might feel more like a technical control, right? Let's say, for example, the example we use for security guards. Security guards can also serve as a deterrent control, because anybody coming into an organization to perform any malicious act, the moment that they see that the security guards you have are actually is very strict and is very tight, right? They are not, maybe not all of them, but most of them immediately would be discouraged from maybe even coming into the organization, because they're like, oh, you can't bypass the security guards in those organizations. They are very strict, they are this, they are that. So they'd rather maybe go to other organizations that their security guys are not so strict, or would easily allow them pass, right? So deterrent control is an attempt to even prevent a threat, right? It can also be in terms of technical, because you might have policies that you've put in place to prevent your workers from trying to visit websites that are not being authorized, right? So maybe they try to click on links that are unauthorized, right? They might get the pop-up message of, oh, you're not permitted to visit this website, right? That already serves as a deterrent control, because it automatically prevents, automatically discourage them from actually performing that particular act they want to attempt, right? Another example can be cable lock. So you can have cable lock that would help you secure your laptop to the furniture, right? If anybody tries to come into the organization to steal, they are discouraged from taking that laptop, because it will take them a lot of effort to actually remove that cable that is securing the laptop to the furniture. But if they visit organization B and the laptop are just sitting on the furniture, it's easy for them to carry it away, right? But that cable lock you've been able to use to secure your laptop to the table serves as a deterrent control that would discourage them from actually doing that, right? Another example of deterrent control can be the physical lock you have for your organization, maybe the key, the lock to your server room. If your server room is without a lock, it's easy for anybody to access it. So I used to work where I used to work. We have our server room, right? And we discover at some point that sometimes we go into the server room and we discover that, oh, somebody has been here, somebody has stepped in here, somebody has touched something, somebody has done something else too. And it took a while before we were able to figure out who the people coming into our server rooms were. And then we get to discover that it was the facility guys of the building where we were using, that usually we go into the server room, and their excuses were always, oh, we discover that the AC there is not working, or we discover that this is bad. And I had to go meet my supervisor, and I had to explain to him that it is very important that nobody have access to our server room apart from the IT guys within the organization. So we need him to write a letter to the facility that if they ever have to go into the server room to do anything, they have to reach out to us. Then we would go with them to do that. Otherwise, we would have to change the lock completely, the lock, and they won't be able to access it at all. I know it was a good thing, because they were able to listen to our request, and for each time they want to go in to fix anything, they always reach out to us, right? So physical lock can serve as a deterrent control in terms of security control, right? They help you prevent anybody accessing your server room or even your wiring closet, right? And this will help you, in fact, discourage a threat from happening, right? And lastly, on the list, we have the compensating control. So for the compensating control, you can also call them alternative control, right? And they are usually used instead of primary controls that you've put in place. So let's say, for example, you have an organization would not just have their employees put in their username and password when they want to log in. They might ask for their smart card instead. So that smart card serve as an alternative, what is it called, control it is a compensating control for the primary controls that are put in place, right? And another other example might be maybe one-time password, multi-factor authentications. These guys can serve as alternative security controls, right? And they will help provide better authentication solutions for your organizations, right? And they're actually necessary. And on my next slide, I have the slide that talks about combining security categories and type. So remember, I told you that these security categories and type, they do complement each other. They work hand in hand, right? They're not completely exclusive from each other, right? You might be able to describe a particular security control to using more than one category or more than one type. So I gave two example here, apart from other example I've given before now, right? An example can be encryption, right? You have encryption serve as a preventive and technical control at the same time. Why? Because one, it would help prevent the loss of data confidentiality. So that's preventive. But because you're implementing it with technology, it is also a technical control, right? It's actually dicey, like I said earlier, because I remember while I was taking my security plus exam, I see some question and I'm confused. Okay, is this physical? Is it just physical, or is also technical, or is also this, or is also that? But the good thing was I was able to use a lot of practice questions, so I was familiar with okay, even if you have it as a preventive control and you have it as a technical control, you would go for the one that is that more that mostly describe it than the other, right? So if you feel for for let's use encryption as an example now, it is a preventive as well it is a technical. So you tend to look that okay, which is more which more which would which of the two describe it the most, right? And after you've been able to dictate okay, which of these two um, describe it the most, then from your maybe your option, if it's a multi-choice question, from your option you can now easily pick that okay, although it is a preventive and it's also technical control, but on the list what I have, the only option I have that is close to it is technical. So it means I can pick technical to explain that particular security control, right? So you can just pay attention to these little clues when you're taking your exam, right? It's very helpful. Another example I have here is the suppression system, right? It's obviously a physical it's obviously a physical control because you can touch it, you can see it, you can touch it, right? And remember, it is also technical because you need technology to actually implement it, right? And what it will help you do is that it will help you detect, suppress, and extinguish this fire. But like I said earlier, from your maybe when you're taking your exam and you're faced with these questions, what you can easily do is okay, try to look at which of the two best describe it. Okay, now from your option, go further to select. Okay, this is the perfect this is what perfectly explains it, or this is the perfect answer, right? That way it's easier for you. So thank you so much. That is everything we would be covering under security control. And I hope that you've been able to fully understand security control as cybersecurity enthusiasts or as cybersecurity analysts who are working for organization or who have plans of taking professional exam. These are very important topics that are being covered. And you can follow me on LinkedIn, you can follow me on Twitter. If you have any questions, you can send them to me, and would also be having a 20-minute section for question and answer. Thank you so much. Over to you, the girl.